Green is signal is there. Signal is there.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay. Namaste to all the students and namaste to all the faculty members, registrar, and all the respected members of the Sathya University. It is my pleasure and honor to be here in this August educational institutions, which is blessed by Sri Sathya Sai. And today it is a bigger pleasure for me to be talking about a very important part of Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma. And something that we all know, but something that we need to know slightly at a more deeper perspective, as it has implications for the life of every blog. Let me proceed with presentation. I wrote for a conference on indigenous sustainability and environmentalism. It was an international conference organized by Indic Academy. And this paper in its full is available on Indic Today website. You all can read it as well. At the same time, it's a great opportunity for me to present this and discuss with all of you. So as you know, the title of my presentation is Origins of Sustainability and Environmentalism in Vedic Philosophy. And what is important is today, sustainability is gaining currency, obviously because of the crisis that we have in front of us in terms of the revolution that industry and technology has caused in terms of materialism and consumerism. Of course, industry and technology is required. Of course, it is also causing a crisis in the modern world, and the whole world is kind of struggling to deal with it. And it is my pleasure to present this topic where the Vedic perspective, the Vedic philosophy provides a solid philosophical ground for sustainability. And it is my proposition that without a solid philosophical base, you cannot achieve sustainability. And we'll see how we see that. The structure of this presentation is like this. Initially, I will present the Purushartha framework. All of us know the Purushartha, but what is the concern of Purushartha and why is it organized like that? And what is the power of the Purushartha? We will explore 5 concepts: Rita, Sthiti, and the relationship between Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya. Once again, we are all very, very familiar with all of this. Probably Rita is a new term, but we know this, and intuitively every Bharatiya Manas will relate to it. But we need to understand the implications of it and the applications of it in the modern world. In reality, around 10 to 15 concepts in the Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma are so powerful that if you understand them very well in all its interrelationship, then it is possible to understand a lot of Vedic philosophy over a period of time. We just need to invest in the Purushartha and the Srishti Sthiti Laya relationship. Finally, I present sustainability as a consequence of three things. And how Rita as a concept emerges from that. Two, all of this results in a unique perspective of change. This is extremely important. Keep this in your mind. The difference between other philosophies and the Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma, we think of time. Finally, how these two things, the Srishti Sthiti Laya relationship and the concept of Rita and the concept of what is change and what is time, influences the Purushartha. These three things result in Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma defining sustainability at a very, very fundamental level. So even before we come to industry, even before we come to technology, even before we come to the material world, the philosophy itself shapes sustainability at a very, very foundational level. And this is important. Finally, I present dharma and moksha, extremely important for sustainability. The reason why in the modern world sustainability has weakened is not because we are not chasing sustainability. We are chasing sustainability, but it is the weakening of dharma and moksha that is the chief cause of sustainability weakening over a period of time. This is the summary of my presentation. And it is important that I state this, that all this is the result of the great scholars of India who continue to live in our own times and who have written a lot about all of this. I am merely summarizing and presenting all of this to you. With this small brief, let's get into the details of the presentation. Chidambar, is my screen visible?
Not yet, sir. It's not yet visible. I think team can give the access to Shivakumar, sir. I request the team to give the access. Yes, sir. I think it is
visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the slide that I was talking to. The structure of this presentation is Purushartha, Vedic vision of universe of life, that is Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Rita, sustainability as a consequence of Purushartha and Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, and Dharma and Moksha being very, very fundamentals for sustainability. This is the summary of my presentation. Let's see how this works. Let's go to the vision of the Purusharthas. As we all know, we have Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Chaturvidha Purushartha. That's how we respectfully call it. What is Artha? Artha is health, wealth, security, purpose, everything that anchors our life. What is Kama? It is all desires and fascinations of our mind. What is Dharma? Dharma is that which binds everything into an overall balance. Dharayati iti dharma. That is the Sanskrit expansion of dharma. That which holds everything together. That which does not let anything fall apart is dharma. And it is the greatness of our civilization that we have defined a concept rather than listing a set of rules. This makes it necessary for all of us to be in constant exploration of dharma. Finally, moksha. Moksha is nothing but renunciation and being liberated from everything. But what is very important here is this. For Artha, Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma, it creates a lot of instruments to achieve Artha, for fulfillment of Artha. That means for our own material needs, we won't exist without Artha. So we need some instruments for that. Kama gives instruments for the fulfillment of the mind. Mind requires it. Even if the physical necessity does not require it, the mind requires it. Whereas the function of dharma is to sustain artha and kama. And moksha is that which sustains dharma. If you say, I don't want moksha, I'll just focus on dharma and artha and kama, dharma will anchor an artha and kama. No, it's not going to happen. The path of dharma is sustainable only if you are in the pursuit of moksha. As a civilization, I'm not talking about just individuals. So important thing for all of us to know is that why does this become complex? This becomes complex because the pursuit of artha, health, wealth, security, purpose is such that our own pursuits can clash with each other. At the same time, the pursuit of one individual of artha and the other individual of artha can clash with each other. For example, the pursuit of wealth by an engineer can clash with the pursuit of wealth by a non-engineer. It happens. And the same with kama. My desires can clash with somebody else's desire. And that is the reason why dharma is needed to balance artha and kama. Finally, moksha becomes necessary because that is what will sustain dharma. And this is the greatest wisdom of Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma, to anchor dharma and moksha like this. Now, fine. So this is the structural concern of dharmartha kama moksha. How do we understand this? Please note this. In this, artha and kama, the material aspects of life and the fascinations of mind are guaranteed as legitimate pursuits of life. We are entitled to pursue artha and kama, but only that it has the limit of dharma. And if you want to understand the limit of dharma, then you must be in the pursuit of moksha also. If you're not in pursuit of moksha, then you will not be able to anchor dharma. And if you are not able to anchor dharma, your artha and kama will go awry. This is the wisdom of the Purushartha. So what does that mean? That means that the concern of the Purushartha is to provide a framework of life that enables fulfillment, that is through artha and kama, in a most equitable and sustainable manner for entire society. Please note this. This is important. The concern of Purushartha is to ensure that all of us get maximum fulfillment possible for everybody, not just for us. So I cannot have artha and kama satisfaction that will hurt somebody else's. So if you know mathematics, some of your students, it is even more. Everybody is trying to maximize more and more for themselves. So the concern of the Purushartha is not to maximize for the individual, but to maximize for the whole universe, and sustainability comes from there. What does it mean on the ground? It means on the ground that your concern is beautiful today, but sustainable tomorrow. You are not going to maximize your artha and kama in such a manner that future becomes a problem. a fulfilling life, but in the most sustainable manner. Pursuing the present, but without losing sight of the future. So that is the power of the Purushartha. So the Purushartha is, and the relationship is what is ensuring that sustainability is an integral component of this. It is integral component because you are not only maximizing Artha and Kama for today, you are keeping a larger view of time. You are thinking of the future also while pursuing Artha and Kama. Philosophically speaking, you may ask, how does this matter? But philosophy always translates itself into every aspect of life. So in India, we have not just created this at the, uh, paper level. Dharma gets translated into so many different performances on the ground, especially the pursuit of moksha, controls the artha and kama. So this is the basic essence of what the concern of dharma. Finally, the concern of dharma and moksha is to create a sustainable artha and kama for humanity for all times. That is important. I'll move to the next slide. We'll now go to the Srishti Sthiti Laya relationship. This again is important, and this is different from the West, and you all need to appreciate this. There are two important premises in our philosophy. Premise one is we acknowledge that the universe of life, not just the physical life, but the entire universe of life, is in constant motion and continuously undergoing change. That we first recognize that change is an essential aspect of this life. It is there. Whether you like it or not, there is change. So our kama and artha are instruments of this change. That is when we pursue something in life, we are not only fulfilling ourselves, we are changing the situation. For example, when we created internet because of our fascination, we are not just fulfilling our own desires of communication. It has changed the way the entire life is, whether we like it or not. So every act of ours, even if I lift my hand and bring it down, it changes the universe. So in mathematical terms, it moves us from one coordinate to another coordinate in the space of time. We recognize that. Indian philosophy, the Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma, recognizes that. Point number two, what we say is that just because there is change, it does not mean it will always be in equilibrium. You all know what is equilibrium means. Universe of life, its natural state is equilibrium, but man should not do anything that disturbs this equilibrium. This is where we have control, we say. Every change will not lead us to equilibrium. Some changes will lead us to equilibrium, some will not. But we can control it. The natural state of the universe is sthiti. But we have to ensure that the world is in sthiti. That is what we are saying in this. And the constant motion, the path of the constant motion, we call as Rita. What are the implications of this? We recognize change as fundamental reality. Normally, if you ask any modern philosophical person, they will say that tradition does not value change, but modernity values change. No, we value change. But we do not acknowledge all changes as good changes. We distinguish between the one that will ensure equilibrium and the ones that will not ensure equilibrium. So we are also recognizing change as an essential dynamic of the universe. What we are saying is your pursuit of artha and kama will change the universe. That means if I go and buy television today, that's an act of desire, of kama. then it changes the universe. It changes my house. Minimum, it changes my house. 10 people buying television will send a communication to the businessman that television is being valued. So more and more television will be produced. So we say that it is there in our essential dynamic of the universe. 3, we are also saying Artha and Kama have the same status as Dharma and Moksha. That's why we call it Chaturvidha Purushartha. Because for life to move, to be in constant motion, Kama and Artha is required. Now, this leads to a very unique, perspective of what change means, and that is the crux of this presentation. I will look into my watch constantly just to check I'm doing well on time. What we are saying is, yes, there will be change, but we can negotiate the change. That is the difference. We need the world to be in sthiti. We need the world to be always in the path, which is always in sthiti, and that path is called Rita. That is what we are saying. And what we are saying is that sustainability is a consequence of this universe of life and perspective of change. That is what we are saying. What we are saying is that because we recognize that change is fundamental, because we are also saying that universe of life should be always in equilibrium, that is our humanity's responsibility through good karma and good artha, we are making sustainability an essential part of this. How is that? To further explain this, what we are doing is that because Kama and Artha are guided in the direction of Sthiti, that means Kama and Artha, we access the physical world, physical universe through Kama and Artha. So that is, if you want to buy a television, you need to create a television. And that is guided by always wanting to keep the universe in sthiti through dharma. That is why we have, sustainability as an integral part of our life. So for us, the physical world, that is kama and artha, is not just a passion, but we want to use kama and artha to keep the universe in sthiti. And that is why sustainability comes. If we said kama and artha were universal and you can pursue it the way you want, then you would not have gotten sustainability. We get sustainability because we are saying good, when we use kama and artha, we change the universe, but we direct it in the direction of sthiti. We will drop some kama and artha that will not lead us to sthiti. We will only pursue that path that will fulfill kama and artha, but also ensures that the universe is in sthiti. This is the reason why sustainability is an integral part of our philosophy, that kama and artha cannot sit on a horse and run forever. Now, with this, I come to two crucial, the internal details. What is Rita? I'm talking about Rita time and again, every now and then I'm talking about Rita. What is Rita? Rita is the change, natural change, that is shaped by certain fundamental principles of natural flow, of the cosmic order. This is the, in Rigveda, I think there are some 400 plus references to Rita or something like that. Rita is a very, very important concept. So change is shaped. Our philosophy says that change is shaped by certain fundamental principles of natural flow. If you follow those fundamental principles, change will happen. Change will also be good. That's what it means. That is Rita. So it is that tattva that determines the natural flow of life. That is a good flow of life, and that's the change. They determine how universe of life also changes. Rishis can comprehend Rita. It's not for everybody to, comprehend Rishis. That is why in Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma, Rishis have that great status, because they can connect the past and the present and the future and see how Rita is flowing. So the Rishis or Trikala Jnanis, they see the paths of natural flow of the universe, that is Rita. They determine what is a good action and what is a bad action. They know which pursuit of Artha and which pursuit of Kama will be accordance to Rita and not in accordance with Rita. This distinction making is the pursuit of Rishi. So they perceive and protect Rita. Only through penance and austerity and control of senses can you be a Rishi and see Rita. That means that what is it that all of us should be doing? That is why the architecture of life is guided by Rishis in India. So as long as we are influenced by the architecture of life shaped by Rishis, we will pursue Rita very, very well. So this Rita is such that it's not just the flow. You see, if they had drawn certain rules and say you go only in this path and not any other path, then that would be prescribing life forever. No, they have not done it like that. They have articulated set of principles using, that determine this flow. That is why you read scriptures and Vedic philosophy and all that and understand what those principles are. So that means these rules, they don't say these are the paths, but they say how do you determine whether a path is good path or not good path. It's like in mathematics, you get a function, right? Evaluation function. So they've given us many evaluation functions. So we use them and we figure out which is the right evaluation function and then figure out whether this is a good path or a bad path, which is much different from saying ABC is good, DC is bad. So this is Rita. Okay. So at any stage in life, the principles given to us by Rishis will help us determine whether we are pursuing good path or bad path. So now let us come to Sthiti. What is Sthiti? Sthiti we all know. It is the natural flow of the universe. That is, Sthiti is that which allows change, but always is in equilibrium. A mistake is, in the modern world, Sthiti is determined as a passive state or an inactive state. No, that is not how Sthiti is defined in Bharatiya Parampara. In Bharatiya Parampara, Sthiti is defined as dynamic, stable equilibrium. Means it is dynamic, means it is constantly changing, but it is stable. Stable means life is good. In equilibrium means everything that is connected to it is in balance. Now this means that universe is constantly changing, dynamic, but is also stable and it is in equilibrium. So they have visualized universe as constantly changing but in balance, and that is called as Sthiti. So if anybody at any point in time tells you that Sthiti is that, it's just a state, no, it is not. So that is what in the Vaishnava Tattva it is Narayana state, and in the Shiva Tattva it is the Shiva state, and so on and so forth. It is a perfect state. It represents harmony, but it also allows change. Okay, change is an integral part of Sthiti in our life. It is not something that is outside of Sthiti that must happen, which is the difference between West and East. West thinks of Sthiti as static, change must happen outside. No, in India, we think of Sthiti as one that creates change but is always in balance. So this vision of Sthiti includes itself. Because it includes change, it includes Srishti. Please note this. Srishti is part of Sthiti in Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma. That is why you see in the creation in Bhagavata, Brahma comes from the Nabhi of Vishnu, which means the creation is part of Sthiti. And even Laya is part of this Sthiti because new thing comes, the old thing has to go. What is Srishti in the Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma? Srishti is that which helps Sthiti change to a new state. It is essentially subordinated to Sthiti. Means that Srishti, if it does anything that goes outside of Sthiti, then it must be brought under control. Please note this. This is the reason why sustainability is there in India. Srishti is guided by Sthiti so that the universe is always in Sthiti. This is the philosophical view that has translated itself into every aspect of life in India. And that is why sustainability is an integral part of it. And in the next slide, we will see that Srishti, that means creation of new things, is guided by Kama and Artha. Srishti represents Kama and Artha. Sthiti represents Dharma and Moksha. And Srishti being guided by Sthiti ensures that Artha and Kama are guided by Dharma and Moksha. And that is why we have sustainability. Means that Artha and Kama cannot run amok in Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma. So that is a grand balance between Srishti, Sthiti and Laya. Some parts of our life are, when we move from one good state to another good state, and that is the path of Rita. Perfect paths. Change happens, but it is still good. So Rishis can see such paths. But the nature of Srishti is such that Srishti does not always take the perfect path, perfect boat. It often pushes it away from Sthiti. Sthiti brings it back to normal. That is the dynamic of the Srishti. There are some bad paths, and Laya steps in and corrects it. And that's why you see that at some stage in the universe, a big pralaya happens. The state of moksha is that if you are always on the path of Rita, always in Sthiti, then you will attain moksha someday. That is how it is. So Narayana state for some, Shiva state for the others, whatever else it is. What then is dharma? Dharma is that infinite set of actions that keep us in the path of Rita, so that we attain mukti, so that we ensure that artha and kama are fulfilled in a reasonable manner. So this is where the definition of dharma comes in. Dharayati iti dharma is to keep and hold things together. It's a binding force. As I explained, Laya ensures that Srishti, when it goes awry, it steps in and corrects so that Sthiti is always maintained. Large scale destruction happens when Sthiti goes awry and we are falling off from Rita. The implications of this framework is that we are outcome oriented. We are not saying this, go like this, then it will be dharma. Anything that you do, if it pushes the world outside of the path of Rita, then it is adharma. Anything that you do that keeps the universe in the path of Rita is dharma. Between this beautiful conceptual framework, in this conceptual framework, you have absolute freedom to explore any path, any action. That is why there is so much liberty in India. Only thing is, you have the responsibility to evaluate whether a path is, going to take you away from Rita or not. Is it a good Rita path or a bad Rita path? And Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma gives you a lot of principles to evaluate whether it is good or not. That is why for millennia, we have had a good pursuit of good Rita paths through Dharma. Okay. So please note, this may be my summary slide. One more slide. I have time till 2:15. So what happens because of this is important. Because of this, change is valued, but it is not progress. We don't say change is progress. Any change is progress. Progress itself is not an independent value for us. Being in the path of Rita is the most important thing for us. That is what we value. And change happens because change is natural, but we have to ensure to be in path of Rita. Our pursuit is Sthiti, our pursuit is Dharma and Moksha. So we change, but we are not worried about material progress happens or not. It's important. Of course, for Artha and Kama, some material progress will be there, some material gets created, but we value that as change. We don't look at pursuit of Artha and Kama as progress. Progress is necessary, but it's not an independent value for us. It is just essential so that we move from one state in the universe to another state in the universe through the pursuit of Dharma and Kama, Dharma and Moksha, through Artha and Kama. So it's a subordinate value, progress and development. It is required. It is required so that universe is in constant balance. That's all. It's not independently. We will not say, by creating television, it's progress. If television results in us being in the path of Rita, then it is progress. That's all we say. There is an if associated with it. So the material world for us is not progress. It is merely change. It is a change that is required so that universe is in constant dynamic stable equilibrium. If not for television, if we had created something else, universe may have still been in balance, and that's perfectly fine for us. So that is Leela. So we enjoy the Leela of this universe. As a result, India has never viewed the concept of progress in an independent way. This is a key element for sustainability. If you are going to measure GDP as the key, parameter for to represent the health of a civilization, then sustainability is not possible, because you will then pursue Artha and Kama in an independent manner. So GDP will never gain the topmost primacy in this philosophical framework. It's a secondary reality. It's not the primary reality. Okay. So, this is a summary slide. So sustainability for us is a result because of the nature of Srishti Sthiti. Okay. We don't say India never views the universe and life as in, constant progress and development. We don't say universe needs to be bettered. We say universe is already in constant motion. If you ask how was the past, that may have been good. How is the future? Whether it will be good or not depends on how we view what we do. That's all we say. We do not say our ancestors were living in a much worse world and the future will live in a better world. We will say life is good. Our pursuit is Dharma and Moksha. We recognize that the change is the nature of the world. It is constantly in motion. Responsibility of the humanity is to ensure that it is in sthiti. If it is in sthiti, then it is sustainable. We should not indulge in creation without conflict to Rita. That is our focus. We should ensure that Srishti is aiding sthiti. Aspiration of the mankind should be attain sthiti. Progress for the individual is that we attain moksha. Progress is not defined for the universe, but progress is defined for the individual in Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma. And that is why we are different from other philosophies. Act according to Dharma. Ensure that change is in the path of Rita. Ensure that universe of life is in sthiti. That is how we will attain sustainability. So no universal notion of progress does not mean that we don't respect material world. No. Artha and Kama is a genuine pursuit, and without fulfillment of Artha and Kama, there is no Dharma, there is no moksha that we can attain. Only thing is, it needs a control. That's all we are saying. Because the universe has to change, Artha and Kama must be used. That is what it is. But it is not material progress. It is not universal progress. Purusharthas contain artha and kama, valued at the same level of dharma and moksha, means we respect the material world. But the material world for us is fascination and a desire and meaning and security, not progress and development. And we are entitled to pursue it, but we must ensure that our fascinations don't drive our worlds outside of Rita, disturbing sthiti. And this we ensure through dharma. Here is why we find the modern notion of sustainability as a natural outcome in our philosophy. Whereas the universe is struggling in the modern world in the modern world, sustainability is an afterthought. You do everything else and then try and fit sustainability into that. No, as an afterthought, it is not going to succeed. Only when our philosophical clarity is correct and that we translate into traditions and practices and industry and everything, can we achieve sustainability. So I've exactly taken 45 minutes. I will stop here. I have a couple of slides, but it's important to take questions and answers. Hope I was clear. Look forward
Yes,
to
sir.
any questions.
Thank you, sir. It was such a wonderful session. As you said, any progress should be underlined by sacrifice or a understanding that world belongs to everyone, not an individual.
Absolutely.
That's what said in Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasya midam sarva etkinchat jagatyam jagat tena
Correct.
tektena bunjita mahagrida kasya svidana.
Absolutely.
It was a wonderful session. So I have few questions. Like I've
Yeah.
collected questions from WhatsApp. So
Good.
these are the questions. Sir, you have spoken a lot about dharma and its principles, but when it comes to practices, there's a lot
Yeah.
of conflict. Like in idea of liberation, what Buddhism thinks is it's shunyam.
Hmm.
What Sanatana Dharma people thinks it is purnam. So how do you resolve such practices
See,
where there is a conflict?
if you look at Buddhism at various points in time, it has, taken different positions. So it then becomes a terminological confusion. But uh, at the level of experience, I would say the balance of Purushartha, the way we have defined, is far more holistic than only focusing on Shunya. We say that our final pursuit is moksha, but we also say that without dharma, without artha kama, we are not going to be able to achieve moksha. Our artha and kama have to be first fulfilled in a dharmic way. Until then, the doors of moksha is not going to open up also. That is the balance that is being put in. So I would say that that is one aspect where later on Buddhism has changed its positions and relationships of Shunya with other aspects of life. And the Chaturvidha Purushartha balance of the Vedas and the Upanishads, and if you look at Mahabharata, I constantly write about my lens of Purushartha. It's beautiful. Should read one story about Yavakrita and Raibhya in Mahabharata. You will understand the relationship between the four aspects of life very, very well. So I think we have explored the Chaturvidha Purushartha in a far, far more finer and multi-dimensional way than anything else. And for us, the guiding light should be the Purushartha framework.
Oh, yes, sir.
Good question.
Next question.
Yeah,
Saram, sir, how
Sairam.
can you teach this sustainability method to village folks? As India is predominantly populated by village folks.
You're right about it. It's a good question. See, in this framework, it's not about one individual, it's about the architecture of life. You cannot You cannot have an architecture of life that is constantly driving you towards, you know, excessive materialism, and then hope that some individual can still sustain that and still be in the path of Purushartha. That's why it's important that we realign the larger civilization of Bharatavarsha in the direction of the Purushartha. So it's not, that is why, students, all of you must internalize this and then figure out what all changes is required in the industry, technology, economy, politics, and then over a period of time, realign the universe, will realign the society. So will not be able to merely tell this to a few individuals or villagers and hope that they can pursue this with everything else in life being very, very different from it. But that said, somewhere it has to start. It has to start at individuals level only. And for that, the leaders and you people, who some of you are going to become leaders in the future, you have to start seriously thinking, and you have to start thinking what is the change that is required in economy, what is the change that is required in various policies, what is the change that is required in the relationship between the cities and the villages. So thought has to start from there. We cannot just put this on few individuals and expect that they follow this. It's a good question.
Sairam sir, we
Sorry.
think the concept which you have explained should be streamlined to our main education system. What are your thoughts about it?
It is true. The first thing is that we have to wake up and see that sustainability cannot be an afterthought. Sustainability has to be an integral part of, first of all, we should have the philosophical clarity of Purushartha. We need to appreciate that Artha and Kama pursuit has to be guided by Dharma, and without moksha, we will not even be able to pursue Dharma. If we accept it, then slowly it will, come down into various aspects of our life, and education is the right place. In my view, in the Bharatiya Shikshana Paddhati, Chaturvidha Purushartha explanation is extremely important, and it must come into that. That alone, that thinking, that framework alone will shape a totally different society in the future. You are right about that.
Just to add to your point, sir, this pandemic, when the pandemic began, we took time to reflect our own education system, and
Correct.
our schools and colleges have changed from Sri Sathya Sai Loka Seva educational institutions to Sri Sathya Sai Loka Seva Gurukulam, wherein Paravidya and Aparavidya
Absolutely.
both are given equal importance.
Excellent.
So, as you said, we are also moving in the same direction and same uh, path. We ask for your more guidelines and collaboration on this. So I'll move to the next question, sir. This is a personal question by me. Before coming to Satyasai University, I studied my BTech in RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. As I was practicing the methods which you were telling, I was labeled as Chauvinist. So I was a minority party in the majority of materialists. So how should an individuals, if they confront with such situation, should deal the problem?
Very nice. See, the first thing is we should not react to them. This is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. But if your inner strength is good, if your own tapashcharya is good, if you have done your own sadhana good, you will not be perturbed. And your confidence will slowly flow into them. The first most important thing is not to be perturbed. The moment you are not perturbed, they are all perturbed deep within themselves. I can confidently tell you. And your confidence, you holding ground, will slowly make an impact. But for that, of course, your own sadhana. This is why, the mantra shakti and regular chanting, all of that is extremely important.
Sairam sir, how should we popularize such concepts of Sanatana Dharma among modern youths?
You should apply that to modern problems and solve. See, when I wrote this paper, I now have a conversational point with various people that they also love sustainability, but they do not have a philosophical grounding for this. So we have to solve modern problems through this. And that is how you will be able to, for example, yoga. Why is yoga? It's not full yoga, only asana and pranayama. That is so successful today because it is solving the health problem. So we have to be confident that the philosophical frameworks of Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma are capable of solving modern problems and bring back the universe to a sustainable state. Sustainability is not just in one thing, right? In everything, like you began in the presentation. The purpose of Sanatana Dharma is sustainability, making everything sustainable. That's why for me, river is a very inspirational thing. It's an eternally flowing, continuous thing. From past to the present to the future, it goes and again comes back.
Saram sir, in olden days, people gave much importance to dharma than artha, but nowadays, people are going behind artha, forgetting dharma. So, what are the methods to bring back that culture of Sanatana Dharma? Are there any formal methods?
See, already many things have changed. See, why we need to know why people have forgotten dharma. Because people have forgotten dharma because they're equating it to the Western religion. And in the West, there is a revolt against religion, and that is flowing into India. We have to first tell that dharma is not dharayati iti dharma. It is not equivalent to the Western religion. As we see, during the British colonial era, two things happened. One, our faith and trust in moksha vanished. It's become some kind of a vague concept because of the modern education and because of the colonial era. Two, colonial era successfully confused dharma with their religion. This is the first step. We need to bring back the true meaning of the word dharma. Dharayati iti dharma. I think one of the best ways to do all of this is to make people read Mahabharata. If they read Mahabharata and the conversations of dharma in Mahabharata, that's it. Conversations between Bhishma and Yudhishthira, conversations between Bhishma and Vidura, and Dharmaraja and Nahusha, Dharmaraja and Yaksha. That's it. That itself will bring so much change. That's why I am so passionate about Mahabharata. Mahabharata is the way we can correct our civilization.
Yes, sir. Sairam sir, how
Saira.
do you think we can apply the principles of Sanatana Dharma in economic sector where people are even ready to adopt the wrong practices to go ahead of others?
So this is a challenge. This is indeed a challenge, and we will have to work very hard at it. Some people are doing it. You can see, sustainability is once again a key element. We have to develop frameworks for sustainability in economy. Some work is happening on that. But sustainability is the way for Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma to get into economics. Demonstrate that something is not sustainable, and then demonstrate that by applying the principles of Dharma, we can get back sustainability. Great way to enter economics.
So this is again my personal question.
Yeah.
This year we have started a unique course called BA Vedic Studies. So, what are your inputs to these students? We have about 30 boys and 30 girls who are pursuing their BA Vedic studies. What are your inputs for them so that they can make their course very effective and complete it in a wonderful way and contribute to the society?
I think they should read Sri Aurobindo very importantly. And see, the Vedas should be read in 2, 3 different ways. See, the Karma Kanda should never be ignored. That's a big mistake. It's Vedic world is a performing world. It's not just a textual world. So they should know Karma Kanda. 2, they should know some 15, 20 philosophical terms in Vedas very, very, very well. Dharmartha, Kama, Moksha, Ritti, Rita, Drishti, Sthiti, Laya. So many concepts are there. It's extremely important, the relationship. Of course, I'm sure in the Vedic studies they will study Samanacharya and all that. They should also study Sri Aurobindo. Lot of modern acharyas have by modern I mean there are acharyas who have distilled it into and made it understandable from the modern world standpoint. That is important for you to communicate. For example, in Kannada, Dr. K.S. Narayanacharya and Shatavadhani Dr. R. Ganesh have written beautifully about Sanatana Dharma and the Veda Samskriti. Especially Narayanacharya has written 10 volume books which are available as 3 volumes in Kannada and Sri Aurobindo in English. So they'll have to appreciate it intellectually, performatively, and from the traditional interpretations standpoint. So that is important. And then see how it applies to the modern world, which is what is my effort also.
Thank you, sir. I think we are done with questions. Sir, we had a very lot of takeaways. When personally, I had many insights from this session, and we are very grateful to our master Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, because as week and week is proceeding, the sessions are becoming more interesting. The
Very nice.
interactions are becoming more wonderful, and
Excellent.
these sessions are raising the benchmarks of our university's initiatives and also the student quality of the university. So we are very thankful for you for joining us for such a wonderful session. And we also request you to please visit us of our main campus, that is Mudenahalli, Satyasai Grama. We wish to collaborate more with you on such abstract concepts and wonderful concepts of Sanatana Dharma. Thank you
Very
and
nice.
lots of love from Mudenahalli, Satyasai Grama. So,
Shri Guru
sir,
Bhyo.
thank you, sir. We will end this session with Sahana Vavatu Prayer.
Sure.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, sir. Saram.